Reverie. I was uh, uh, I was in fact traveling to Delhi once, and I whenever I traveled to Delhi, I made sure that I traveled by metro, local commute in metro, so that I get an opportunity to see how people are using languages and digital. And this was very interesting. This is There was one gentleman who was seated beside me, and he was. I figured out that he was a government employee, but very well conversant in English. And I asked him that what is your native language? He said Hindi. I at home I speak Hindi. That's my native language. Then I showed him our keypad. So Swalek is a keypad that we had introduced, and that had got transliteration capability. That means you actually type in Roman characters, that gets converted to the native character. So I showed that to him, and he was very surprised. He was pleasantly surprised, and he started asking me questions that how can I get this on my phone, right? So I told him, of course, but I was very curious to know that I asked him that you already know English, and I do see that you are texting in English language. Why do you need something like this that it can convert to a native script? You can as well. You can in fact type messages that are in Roman script, but those are Hindi language messages. He said, yeah, that is right. But he then told me something that I had never thought of. He said that my wife cannot read English letters. She can read only Hindi letters, Devanagari script. So now what happens is, even if I type something in English Roman letters, but it is a Hindi message, she has to go and take somebody's help who can read Roman letters. Now, if I get something like this, I can actually send messages to her, even though I'm typing in Roman letters, but send messages to her in a script that she can read directly. So right now, because she has to take somebody's help. It is I cannot send very private messages to even my wife, and there are so many other people within my family and friend and my network, my immediate network, who don't they cannot read the Roman script. So that is a limitation that I have. So this was a very interesting conversation that I have had. There are several more. I would also like to hear from you if you had something very interesting with users that you would like to bring forth here.
Lots of them, and they are of similar nature. You coming into Bangalore, trying to interact with people, trying to send them messages, and then there is so much of confusion with common words but different meanings. Lots of those, in fact, funny incidences also, because of this great diversity we have. And something that reminds us the lack of being able to do that more accurately, right? I mean, one thing that comes to my mind, maybe not as interesting, but so often do you get in Bangalore messages in Kannada, and because they don't realize that I can speak a little bit of broken Kannada in Bangalore, maybe get passed off as a Kannadiga with an auto driver or with a shopkeeper, but I'm not going to be able to read the script, and it's extremely difficult to then understand it. It may be coming from some government agency or whatever. That experience is completely broken even today. And I think while there are funny incidences, there are other interesting incidences. It is still a significant problem that is begging to be solved.
Great, Mayuresh. If you recall any funny incident, please add on. In the meantime, Soham, what has been your standout moments with users? Any standout moment that you can share with us?
Okay, maybe let me share an incident that comes to my mind. Me and my wife, we were coming back from Delhi to Bangalore. It was a very early morning flight, And our and this was the old airport, so at least some 8-10 years ago. And we reached the airport, we just got down of the cab and just getting our bags out, and another cab just kind of rushes in. And one lady walks out of that, and she's in a complete hurry to get her bags, and she was with nicely dressed sari with lot of jewelry. She's trying to kind of take care of that. And all of that was going on. And Kingfisher, it was the time of the Kingfisher Airlines days. The Kingfisher porter walks up to us and says, "Sir, are you flying Kingfisher?" And I said, "No, no, we are not flying Kingfisher." And then he goes to the next cab and he asks that lady, "Ma'am, are you flying Kingfisher?" And then she just looks at him. Okay. And and then she's again getting her bags and stuff like that. Then he again requests her, "Ma'am, are you flying Kingfisher?" Then she says, "Najina, hum to passenger hain." So this little construct of English language of "Are you flying Kingfisher" was quite literally translated, by her. And then she responded to it. And I kind of stepped in and said, कि आप Kingfisher Airlines से जा रहे हो क्या? And then she said, हाँ 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 हाँ, ये मेरा flight है and I'm getting late वगैरह वगैरह. But this incident kind of stayed with me, because we now, having learned that, we kind of know. But these little translation problems are everywhere.
So, Mayuresh, that is a very interesting, and it can get funny even on using technology. So, how do you envisage technology solving this problem? So, I can relate to what you are saying, and I can tell you during our early days when we were doing this localization for a e-commerce company, we had literally translated the categories, e-commerce categories, right? uh, like uh, men, women, kids, all of those things we had literally translated. And we got a feedback, user feedback on the kids section. These are like first time internet users, they are still figuring it out. That lady asked, तो इंटरनेट में किड्स को हम लोगों ने ट्रांसलेट करके उसको बच्चे लिखा हुआ था, बच्चे बच्चों ऐसे कुछ लिखा हुआ था. Then she literally asked that internet पे बच्चे भी मिलते हैं क्या? So that was an eye-opening moment, that when you are introducing technology to users who are getting used to technology for the first time for onboarding, you want to take a different approach to onboard them, and then probably once they are used to, then so for English users it has become so intuitive. Internet has become so intuitive. We don't think along these lines. So then we figured out that you mentioned that category as बच्चों के लिए, not बच्चे और बच्चों, where it can be misinterpreted that internet पे बच्चे भी मिलते हैं. So anything from your side?
Yeah, when like I said earlier, like right now, internet is completely dominant with English language, and everything is built on the basis of English, right? And now we are seeing that shift, that even people in tier 2, tier 3, even villages, everywhere, everyone, like in their own language, they are trying to access all these solutions in internet, and people can perceive these things in a different way. So like we all know that language plays a huge part in forming neural networks in our brain, so everyone can think differently on the basis of the language they speak. So I think we have to kind of reimagine solutions. Like we know that internet is completely based on English, but we have to think that if there was no English, there was just suppose Marathi or Bengali, and now we are building solutions on internet, then how would those solutions look like? We have to start thinking like that and then build solutions around that.
So Soham, what you explained is very interesting, and you use the word sweet. Bengal is famous for its sweets also. Bengal sweets are very famous. So it's like a relative term that you. I agree with you that Bengali language is very sweet, but what you consider harsh for another language Probably that's how they are used to, and that is sweetness for them. Right? So that's the beauty, and those are the nuances. I would share. So the earlier example that I shared was more about communication. A man trying to communicate with his wife in local language, and technology having a barrier over there. One another interesting example that I would like to share was once I was on my way back from Bangalore airport to my home in a cab, and this was the time when Flipkart was the e-commerce company, and Amazon had not forayed into India. And suddenly I saw the cab driver. He got a call from the Flipkart delivery agent asking him about. So this guy spoke in Kannada. I of course couldn't understand what he was speaking. After he had finished his discussion, I asked, "आपका ये फ्लिपकार्ट से कॉल था?" He was speaking Hindi also pretty well. "आपका ये फ्लिपकार्ट से कॉल था? आप फ्लिपकार्ट से कुछ ऑर्डर किए क्या?" So I was very curious to know because Flipkart was all in English, and this guy was a Kannada guy, and how he was shopping. I was keen to understand the behavior. So he said, "हाँ मैं किया." Oh, then I asked him that आप frequently Flipkart से कुछ खरीदते हो? हाँ हाँ मैं खरीदता हूँ Flipkart से. Then, while having the conversation, I figured out that he's a regular user of Flipkart. He shops, and on an average, he spends about 2,500 rupees every month in e-commerce buying products. That was then. This was before Amazon, just quite a while back. So then I asked him that फ्लिपकार्ट में तो सब अंग्रेजी में है, आप तो कन्नड़ा बोलते हो, आपको कैसे, आपको हाउ डू यू शॉप? And what he explained to me was was again very interesting. So I figured out by probing. Of course, he was not able to articulate everything, but when I started probing, this is the summary of what he told me. That first of all, he doesn't rely on anything that is written because he can't understand. He can't read anything. He can't understand anything. Product specifications, nothing. User reviews, nothing. So he relies on clarity of image. Okay, how clear the image is, product is, before he chooses to buy. The second thing that he said is that cash on delivery is the only mode of payment that helps him. Nothing else. He doesn't use anything else. He can't. The third one that he said is that he buys only the products. He goes to the website only when he has to buy. Nothing else. And some product has been referred to him by some of his friend. That was his buying behavior. Then I actually asked him a hypothetical question कि अगर अगर ये फ्लिपकार्ट आपको कन्नड़ लैंग्वेज में जो सब आप देख रहे हैं उसमें अंग्रेजी में है, वो कन्नड़ लैंग्वेज में, तो आप क्या करेंगे? uh, so then again, by probing, I summarized that this is what he would do that he was not doing right now. So he said that मैं फ्लिपकार्ट में और थोड़ा सा प्रोडक्ट देख लूंगा मैं. हाँ, which means you are saying that मैं विंडो शॉपिंग करूंगा. Window shopping means that might lead to more buying. The other thing that he said is that he would be curious to read about the specifications and reviews of other users. And the third thing that he said is that he will depend less on his friends' recommendations to make buying decisions. So this was a very interesting perspective that I got in the e-commerce online buying space on Flipkart. So things have changed significantly since then. There are companies who have recognized the importance of languages. I'm not saying that it is there where it should be, but any thoughts on this or any other experience that you would like to share along these lines?
Not really an example like you. I think your example was spot on, but I do see that there is a lot of value in. Um, I've seen how people have tried to solve this problem. They have actually tried to go around it. A lot of product guys I have spoken to, e-commerce platforms we see, where even on the seller side or on the buyer side, rather than really solving the language problem, I have seen them rely on other means such as show images, show numbers, that people are already comfortable with. So there, because this is such a vast area, there is a certain amount of hesitance in terms of just taking it head on and trying to solve that. And of course there might be certain gaps, because if they then say that as a platform or as a product, they will have to maintain that experience across, right from how they start onboarding them to customer support. It's not just about app or a mobile app or a web app. So I've seen that there is still a lot of hesitance, and I think that is because the core problem is not solved in a way that it is you know easily available, accessible, and accurately converting the nuances like you discussed, right? So not an example, but that's my view on what is really going on in this space.
Yes, so I was speaking. So the thing is like regarding website localization, right? So like the example you gave that that person just saw the image and just saw the COD option and just went for the product, right? But instead of that, that means that that person is not making an informed decision about buying a product. So uh, if that website is available in their own language, that person can make an informed decision on buying that product. And this not just it's not just in e-commerce, but in banking or in government websites. Suppose that person wants to avail some policy that is given by the government, and that policy he can read or she can read in his or her own language, and then can decide that whether they want to go with this policy or not, right? So language, if you provide this language option to every user, every person in this country, they can make an informed decision, and I think that makes a very big difference in their lives.
Soham, what you mentioned is very relevant and very important, and I don't think we have realized that. So Mayuresh touched upon the point that people are trying to do workarounds. Okay, and let me share one more interaction that I had with a gentleman, and it was kind of it by far in our journey in Reverie. That discussion had a mind blowing impact on me. So this person is he was studying like Mayuresh. Going back to what you said earlier, he studied in a local language medium school up to class 7th, 8th, and then he was forced to switch to class 9 because his teachers came and told his parents that you need to switch to English medium because engineering is something that we would recommend. So till that time, this individual didn't know that a career like engineering is there, and then engineering has to be pursued in English language. Entrance examinations need to be appeared in English language. So he was forced to switch, and it's a very interesting story this individual has. But just to summarize, despite the fact that he switched and then he had to almost learn English from scratch, and class 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, these are serious education. We are talking about board examinations, preparing for engineering entrance examinations, right? And also learning English on top of that. So he went through all of those, and still in IIT joint entrance examination JEE, he appeared all the major ones, including IIT joint entrance examination, and he scored all India rank 1. All India rank 1 in IIT joint entrance examination. So I mean, when he shared this with me, my thought was that, I mean, what is it that we are really doing in India? Have we started equating intelligence and intellect with language? And is India actually a free country? Or are we still ruled by English? And we are opening all the opportunities to only English speaking people. Now, I was just wondering that had his teachers not asked him to switch, had he continued in local language medium without having this awareness, what would have happened to his talent, his potential, and how many millions of people who are there in our country who are not able to do that? And if we don't do that, are we really even being able to exercise our fundamental rights, rights to education, right to justice, Are we saying that these are right to education in English, right to justice in English, right? So that was kind of an eye-opening moment for us. And then we started thinking about what are the other aspects that are preventing language in the preventing the bridge between technology and language. And we quickly figured out that what Mayuresh you mentioned, Soham, what you also mentioned about the usability aspects. It is perceived that Indian languages are difficult on the internet, and therefore there are workarounds. But look at this. I mean, we still do not have a keypad that is standard for our languages. Like QWERTY is there for English language. We still do not have our character sets for Indian languages standardized, like 26 alphabets which are there for English language. And these are basic fundamentals which are there. So, in a way, in Reverie, it is not just the technology. We are touching upon various aspects of user experience, connecting all the dots together, influencing what are the things that are required to ensure that overall all of these things come together to deliver a very good experience to the end users. And our vision, as you all know, has been that language equality. That means we would like to live to see that dream when every internet user in India is able to use the internet in their language as easily and as delightfully as English language users are able to do that.